Hi guys, I'm Camilla and I'm a watercolorist from Denmark. And in this short video I'm going to show you how to create texture with salts. This is regular table salt and you can use all sorts of salt. And I'm explaining that in detail in my texture class on salt, so you can find a link for that below. But if you just want to scratch the surface, you can jump right in and watch this video. And if you want to know more about the texture, I have more classes and more videos, so hit the follow button or just check out my videos and I'll see you in there. I just went on a walk this morning to find this beautiful thistle, which is kind of withered and fluffy, so I thought it would be a nice reference for this exercise. I'm actually working in a landscape mode here at the beginning, just adding water. I did that before realizing that I wanted to do it like this, in a more portrait mode. So I just added randomly water to the page, and now I'm adding some paint, of course. SAP Green first, and then some Paynes Grey. And I'm being super random here, just dipping in color and letting them flow into each other. I'm not gonna follow the reference completely. I'm just using it randomly as a guide. Here I'm doing a little bit of Dyke Brown as well. There's a lot of brown here. And you can see how there's a lot of grasses and that texture I really love. So I'm just doing these strokes where I hold my brush very high on the handle and just doing some sweeping strokes to get some motion and some grass texture in there. Just did a bit of splatters as well, and now I'm just strengthening the colors. I want my wash to be fairly dark when I'm adding the salt, because we need to have some contrast when we put the salt in, or otherwise you won't be able to see it. If it's a very light wash, it'll just melt away and it's not going to be visible. Just added a bit of new Gamboge as well, so that was the yellow that you saw me adding here. Now I'm just grabbing my salt, and this is table salt. It has a very fine grain, and I'm just pouring a little bit into my hand like this, and now I can just place it in the paint, and we will see how it reacts. I am maybe adding this a little bit too early. This is very wet, but we'll see how it goes, and we can go from there. I'm just putting back the rest of the salt here, so we have it for next time. I let it dry completely, and now we can go in and remove the salt. Just pressing it down to see if it was actually dry. It was, so I can go in and remove the salt. Oh, it's almost dry. Okay, it wasn't completely dry. Almost dry. It's left a beautiful texture here, and I actually really like that. Did smudge up a bit because it wasn't completely dry, but it's okay. I've removed the salt, and make sure you completely remove the salt before you continue. The salt will ruin your brushes in the long run if you're not completely sure you removed it. So make sure you are removing the salt, and we can move on. I am going to use these salt patches as the fluffy part of the thistle. So I'm actually going to paint around it. It's like a negative painting style. So I can this way just emphasize the beautiful texture that the salt created. So with this negative painting style, I'm actually painting around the thistles, also around the stems of the thistles. And you can just try to see how the wash is working for you. It'll probably have made some lines you can follow along, and then it's like a puzzle. Just see if you can figure out where you want your dark spots to be, and how you can reveal your beautiful thistles. But try to see if you can work with the pattern that the salt created. And if you're interested in more videos, please make sure to subscribe to this video or this channel. I have a lot of watercolor videos. And at the moment I'm doing watercolor texture videos, so definitely check that out. And also check out my classes. I have a school called Camilla Damsbo Art School. There's a link below the video, so you can check that out as well. And I'm going to put links for the materials as well. So make sure to head down to the text beneath the video after you watch this. So you can see I'm just working my way around these patches, and I'm really just examining it as I go. I'm not going for a realistic look. I'm just going to see how I can find some thistles in here, and this is actually super fun and so relaxing. And it does take quite a long time, because you really have to work your way around the entire piece if you are going to, well, if you want to do that. You can totally do only areas, and that will be where your viewer will look. So if you would leave it like this, where I am at the moment, the viewer would look at the left side. But I do like to incorporate a bit more in my piece. So I'm just doing some more negative painting here on the right side as well. And I actually really like how negative painting can create almost like a magical feel, because you can't paint white in a watercolor painting, well, not without cheating. But negative painting comes really close to painting white, because you actually paint around the lighter areas, and the contrasting dark paint here really gives us an illusion of white. So I really love that. So definitely, if you want to find a fun and easy way to paint white, check out negative painting, because that is so cool and very magical. And you can see I'm using a big brush for this. This is a big round brush. This is a synthetic brush, but it acts a lot like a natural hairbrush. It holds a lot of water. And I really like to work on this big brush instead of a smaller one. When you're working like this, you really want to be careful that it's not drying for you, because if it dries, it leaves a hard line. And in this I want a lot of softness, and I want to be able to control my shapes so they kind of flow into each other, and only leave hard lines where I want them, which is where I have the negative painting, the stems and the thistles. And here I'm just gonna do a little bit of darkness on top of these as well. So there's a nice contrast again there. And if you want to check out my class on creating salt texture, the class is all about the same technique, explained a lot more in detail, but also experiments on the effect on different types of paint and different types of paper, and also different types of salt. So there's a lot of experimenting as well in that class. Also, I am painting dandelions, which is a super fun motif. So just a small commercial, sorry. I'm gonna go in with a smaller brush now. This is a size 6. It's a round synthetic brush and has a nice tip to it. And I'm just gonna use it for these longer grasses and stuff like that, to do not negative painting anymore, but more positive painting. And the reason I'm doing this is because if you layer on these, it's like a new layer on top of the negative painting, and it really creates a beautiful depth that I like. And I'm just gonna do a little bit of detail on these thistles as well. I'm not gonna do much. I am going to leave it fairly abstract. You could of course go in and add more texture or whatever you like, but I think I'm gonna keep it very soft and loose and leave something for the viewer's eyes or the viewer's imagination. But just adding a bit at the bottom here, just to attach it, the fluffy part to the stems. And you can see I'm just painting a little bit on the stems, even though they are defined by the negative painting. I wanted to just add a little bit of paint to some of them, just to make them stand out and pop a little bit more. Just a little bit more grasses, and then I can add a little bit of texture here. So some grasses have these textured pieces here at the bottom, like weed or something. So just adding a little bit of texture and showing that we are in a field or something. Like the reference photo, actually. I had a lot of grasses of different kinds in that. So just trying to draw my inspiration from that. And I actually really like how this is turning out. Just doing a little bit of random strokes here, just for the fun of it. Don't be afraid of just having fun with your painting, and don't get too precious. Sometimes it's the small fun lines that create the magic. I'm just gonna show you real quick the salt result here. You can see how the salt created a beautiful pattern up here in the area of the thistle, and down here as well. As I predicted, it didn't give me as much as a result as I wanted, but that's just because I added it to a pretty wet wash. So just wait for it to dry a little and you should be totally fine. And I actually think that is it. Check out the text below the video to find all the links I talked about. I'll see you in the next video.